About 2500 years ago, Socrates said, "Know yourself." And now, in 2026, with artificial intelligence explosion, I think it's very important to understand and to speculate why it's important. How we perceive our life, how we perceive our reality. I think we are all tiny simulators of our own realities. There is a main reality, and we simulate our own reality. And the wisdom that must be applied is to adapt the simulation of our small reality to the main reality and slightly reshape it to make it better. That's why we have wars, that's why we have violence, because some people simulate wrong realities. And while simulating their own realities, they battle main realities and people who try to live inside of this main reality. Because our life nothing else but a narrative, a story. And to be able to write your own story takes a character. You have to become a lead character of your own story. That's how you are able to lead. Otherwise, you will become an extra of someone else's story. And when you write your own story, you have to look for the meaning of your own life. And you have to understand that suffering is essential. You can compare emotional suffering with a muscle pain. When you work out, you always have muscle pain because muscle pain is necessary for your muscle to grow. The same with your suffering. What it does, it helps you to become deeper on different levels. And when you try to write your own story, you would be met with resistance from other people. Because most of the people around you just an extra. They already gave up on their own stories. They already adapt to reality of somebody else. And now they just live like an extra with not much responsibility for their own life. But if you wanna, you have to push back, you have to write your own story. But to be able to write your own story, you have to know yourself and how you can do this. I think real freedom is in restraint. And what does it mean? You have to be able to restrain your biology. Otherwise, your biology would mislead you into the abyss of a bunch of addictions that you eventually will use to numb your true self. When you look at yourself in the mirror, something in you might scream that here's the potential, here's what I want to be. But for some reason, I always procrastinate. For some reason, I always put something for tomorrow. For some reason, I want to do this, but later. The problem with this idea, you have to do things right now. And to do them right now, you have to know, again, yourself. What exactly do you need? Because we all have feelings that we need something. We need changes. But how many of us can vocalize those feelings? How many of us can explain those feelings to our own selves? Because I'm constantly having internal conversation with myself. I try to understand what exactly I want. I ask myself a question, and then I try to get an answer from myself, a comprehensive answer, an answer that would help me to correct some of my behavior that I believe not good for me. And that's the thing. To write your own story, to be an author of your own story, you have to be strong enough to resist temptation, to become an extra of someone else's story. Think about this way. Imagine reality is just a main game. And it's like metagame. Reality is a metagame. And you are a gamer. But you have your own game. Your own game to play. And what you do, You try to explore, okay, what is my limitations? What is my possibilities? Because we all play with cards that we were given from our birth. Whether you like it or not, that's what you have. That's what you are. And to complain that I wish I had richer parents, I wish I was born in a different place or in a different time, it's not going to solve no issue. You have to accept yourself. You have to accept who you are. And then again, you have to try to learn who you really are by asking yourself a question. And now, for example, and then come back to this reality game. What you do, you try to see, okay, this is reality around me. This is my reality. Now I have to overimpose my reality over main reality and see how they match. You can tailor some pieces to make it more fit. But again, you have to understand your game and you have to understand the game of other people. If your game and game of other people are absolutely different, then there's no way to find common ground. And that's why you have to be observant. You have to observe yourself, okay, what exactly I want, and then you look at the world around you and see how I can get what I want from the reality that doesn't belong to me. And that's how I think the game plays. That's the main reason of a main simulation, because I think you can say it's like a metaphorical sense of simulation, and like there's such a traditions that we have to learn that would make our simulation much more profitable. Because you cannot always have what you really want, and we often don't know what we really want. We think we do, because I change throughout my life and a lot of things in me changed. I want now different things that I used to want before because of my experience with the new things. You discover something with the world, then within yourself, and you try to recollaborate and see, okay, what should I do next? How should I play now this game? Because life is a game, and what story I'm writing now about myself, how I imagine myself. I like sometimes to do this trick when I imagine, for example, okay, imagine yourself 10-year-old. Would you be proud of yourself the way you look like now? Like, would you be proud if you who's 10-year-old met your older version of you? Would you really want it to be this way? Because if you don't control your biology literally will enslave you, especially in our time, because this comfort can make people really ugly. Because first of all, unrestrained consumption of calories would make you out of shape. We don't need as much calories. We don't need as much food as people consume right now, because we don't waste so much. We don't waste much energy. We don't run on the forest and hunt for animals. We usually don't move at all. And also many other restrictions that you have to self-impose on yourself. That's what I think that's the hardest thing, because your biology tried to take advantage out of this comfortable environment where you exist right now. And if you don't restrict your biology, you'll become ugly physically and mentally. You start degrading, because people with no restraint, with no discipline, it's not attractive. They, as a matter of fact, unappealing, because everybody likes disciplined people, because you can rely on those people. You can rely on people who's disciplined because they're strong, because they're self-reliant, and you can rely on them. You can trust them. They won't betray you because they're disciplined enough not to do certain things. There's nothing worse in this life when you meet unreasonable people, because you cannot reason with them. They're emotional and they're unreasonable. You like to be able to negotiate with people around you, especially with your friends or with your loved one, because it's constant negotiation. That's what I am. That's what I want. Now tell me who you are and what you want. I believe that's the key to successful game. Otherwise, how are you supposed to know how to play? For example, you select you fall in love with someone, right? And you tell her, okay, here I am. That's what I am. Now, that's what I want from you. Now tell me who you are and what you want from me. And then we slowly modify during our relationship all our desires. It's almost like communication with LLM models, large language models. When you start communication with the large language models, you tell them who you are and what you want from them. The difference is they don't tell you who they are and what they want from you. But kind of it's like you prompt. And that's what you do with other people or with the friends, the same stuff. That's why it's really hard to build meaningful friendship with somebody, because a lot of people like to live on this delusion. It's not exactly friendship, because real friendship is to be able to self-correct yourself and help to correct your friend. If you don't correct your friend, then you actually have to stop self-correcting yourself. And if you stop self-correcting yourself, this friendship only would make you worse. Because if you see that your friend does something wrong, you have to point this out. And if this friend doesn't listen to you, then you cannot be a friend with this person. Otherwise, what you do, you start lying to yourself and betray yourself by betraying your friendship. Because everything is interconnected, and truth is the most important thing. And again, everything comes back to know yourself. Otherwise, how are you supposed to know what you like about other people if you don't know yourself? You have to learn about yourself first. Okay, that's what I am. That's what I want from my woman. That's what I want from my friend. That's exactly what I want. And now I want you to tell me, what do you want from me? And we'll see if I'm able to give it to you. Because that's the consistency and the clarity of a mind when you actually can explain yourself is incredibly important. Otherwise, if you just feel something and not able to explain your feelings, it's really hard to guess who you are and what you truly want. And about artificial intelligence, why it's more important right now is if you don't know who you are and you start communicating with the large language models, incredibly sophisticated models, you can actually reason yourself into hell. They will help you with this reasoning because you're going to ask them questions to help you, to become rich. A lot of people think like, I will ask them to become, how I can become rich. But do you really want to be rich? What exactly you mean by rich? It's very important. I remember Jordan Peterson, he was stating this, like a lot of people dream of paradise is to drink margarita on the beach for the rest of their life. And Jordan Peterson pointed out correctly, it's not a word, they want to be alcoholic beach bums. And that's the problem, because you have to be careful what you're wishing for. You don't want to drink margarita on the beach for the rest of your life because it's an incredibly useless way of existence. And when you ask AI to help you with your goals, you have to have those goals first. And to be able to have those goals first, you have to know yourself, because that's how you generate those goals. You are the foundation of your own life, of your own story, of your own narrative. If you don't know yourself, you will never write your own story. And what you do, you will numb yourself with your biological addictions, with the wrong friendships, with the wrong merit, to eventually collapse into an extra and going to be used by other people. And you will never discover your full potential. Know yourself. Socrates said this 2,500 years ago, and it's still incredibly important to understand.